Hey everybody. I did an entire review of this already. It ran about 12 minutes, which is longer than normal, and completely forgot to move my microphone where you could hear me. So let's do it again. Number 65 in the Criterion Collection is Rushmore by Wes Anderson from the United States from 1998. I want to talk about two things before we talk about the movie itself, because Wes Anderson is probably the most identifiable auteur director working today. And not only that, but he is a postmodern auteur director. So let's talk about real quick what those two artsy fartsy terms mean, auteur and postmodernism. We're going to start with auteur. And we're doing a very simple version of this, right? I could go on for hours and blah, blah, blah. That's not what we're here for, right? We're kind of bridging a gap here between film nerd and regular person. So this is like 10-minute film school. Sure? An auteur is, and when we talk about an auteur, we're talking about a director, regardless of the script. Doesn't matter who wrote the script, doesn't matter what the script is. We're talking about the look of a film, the way it's presented, the way it's shot, the way it's made. Even if the auteur wrote and directed, we care about the directing more. And it just means that the director has a recognizable style, which is a much lower bar than you would think. Yes, it's true of directors like Wes Anderson, because, and I think he's a great example, most Wes Anderson movies, if you just grabbed a screenshot and showed it to people who know a bit about films, they'd go, that looks like a Wes Anderson movie. They don't need the quirky dink-da-dink-da-dink soundtrack, and they don't need the strange delivery, which we'll get into in postmodernism. His style is very recognizable. But he's not the only one. If you played somebody 10 minutes of a Quentin Tarantino movie and did not tell them it was a Quentin Tarantino movie, they would probably be able to guess. That means it's a recognizable style. That makes him an auteur. Similarly, we can go to the other end of things. Michael Bay. If you can watch a movie and go, gosh, that looks like a Michael Bay movie, doesn't it? Then that director counts as an auteur. He has a recognizable style that stands out. So the entry point to being an auteur is not that high. I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of nameless directors whose style doesn't stand out. They're there to get the story out. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's what separates an auteur from somebody who's not an auteur, is having a distinct, recognizable style. That one's easier to explain. Postmodernism gets complicated. The bare basic explanation I'm going to give you here is, we've talked about the language of cinema a couple of times, how there's just a certain way that movies work. And a lot of you have a deeper understanding than you think, right? You can see when something's being set up and you can go, this guy's going to show up again in 20 minutes and save the day. He's leaving now, but he's going to be back, right? You know how to interpret that. Postmodernism in most fields, but I'm only super familiar with it in film and television, is about taking all the pieces that make something up and playing with the individual pieces. Let's twist the story this way. People would expect the character to do this, let's do that. A lot of it is subverting expectations, doing the unexpected, because we're so used to films following in a natural progression. Breaking that, playing with it, opens us up to new experiences and seeing things in new ways. In college, the Pee Wee Herman show, it was frequently used as an example of postmodernism, because it was a children's television show that broke all of the formula for what a children's television show should be like, right? It was subversive, it was strange. Another popular example I will give you is The Last Jedi. And I'll give you two quick examples from that. But The Last Jedi is a postmodern film. For example, we have our core group of heroes who have to go off on a quest to save the day. They fail in their quest. They come back with something that's not quite their... It doesn't matter. By the end of the story, nothing they did in that movie mattered. Luke Skywalker not being the hero we thought he was is a subversion of expectations. Our hero's main adventure not counting or contributing to anything is a subversion. Also, shots like you get big dramatic shots of like space stuff, which you expect in Star Wars. You're like, yes, this is Star Wars. And then it zoomed out and it was a laundry machine. That's playing with the parts of a Star Wars film. It's also why The Last Jedi, people have such strong feelings about it, either loving it or hating it, is because it is the only postmodern Star Wars movie. My complaint about it, and this is my personal opinion, and then we'll go back to Rushmore, I swear. I nothing wrong with a postmodern film. I don't want every film to be postmodern, but I do think that having some postmodern films is a good thing. Excuse me real quick. The girls were getting antsy. But The Last Jedi is a postmodern film in the middle of a trilogy. It didn't start as postmodern. It didn't end as postmodern. So what happened is J.J. Abrams set up a whole bunch of stuff in the first movie. Rian Johnson came in and went, I'm going to break it apart and play with all the pieces and then leave the pieces behind and somebody can pick them up afterwards. That's why I don't think that it worked. It didn't work for me, at least. But we're not here to talk about Star Wars. Wes Anderson films are a breed all their own. He is an auteur. He has a very unique style. Bright colors, offset characters, character dialogue that is very strange. People in Wes Anderson movies don't talk like human beings. The dialogue they deliver is... Nobody has ever said most of the sentences in a Wes Anderson movie in real life. And also, he encourages his actors to have a flat affect, to have almost no emotion to their delivery. Everything is very dry. There's also a cyclical, repetitive nature to the words that kind of turn it into a form of poetry. I love Wes Anderson movies. If you hate Wes Anderson movies, I understand. Kind of like The Last Jedi. When somebody has such a strong and distinctive style, you kind of have to form an opinion about it. Now, Rushmore itself is his second movie, and I feel like in this, his style isn't fully crystallized yet, right? It is a Wes Anderson movie, but it's not 100% Wes Anderson movie. This movie is not turned up to 11, it's at like a 7. It is the story of a young boy in prep fancy high school who loves being a student very much. He loves all of the after-school activities. He's forming clubs all the time. He doesn't get good grades, like at all, but he kind of views that as inconsequential to the experience of being a student. He develops a crush on a teacher. An adult, played by Bill Murray, that he has made friends with, also gets a crush on that teacher, and then the two of them go to war over her. That's the basic plot. Should you watch this movie? Well, if you like Wes Anderson, then yes. If you hate Wes Anderson, probably not. Although I will say, being his second effort, this is probably the most mainstream and accessible Wes Anderson film. So, if you don't have an opinion on Wes Anderson, this might be a good one to dip your toe in the water and see what you think. See how you feel, and maybe you'll go deeper into his oeuvre, which just means his body of work, or maybe you'll be like, no thanks, that's enough. And then you'll know. So, we've done postmodernism, we've done auteurism, and we've done Wes Anderson. It's a lot of material. We have one more speech to make here, because this was number 65 in the Criterion Collection. I will not be covering number 66. The Criterion Collection does a thing, and I have one here, where sometimes they bundle films together. This is from the Criterion Collection. It is 3 films in one collection. And this is just an example. Number 66 in the Criterion Collection is a bundle of 3 movies. It's not those 3, but it is a bundle of 3 movies. Number 67, 68, and 69 are those individual films from the bundle. Sometimes they put the bundle and then the individual films as numbered entries. Sometimes they don't. In this case, they did. So I'm not going to be reviewing 66 because I will review those movies individually as 67, 68, and 69. Later, as we get on, when we encounter a bundle like Zatoichi. Zatoichi's a bad example. There is a Godzilla collection in here later on. I will likely be talking about those films individually, but I don't know the number that Godzilla is. We're going to say it's number 256. I'm just randomly pulling out a number. What I will likely do is have review 256A, 256B, 256C until I get through it. This is the best solution I've come up with to deal with these bundles when they themselves aren't consistent with how they're handled. So, next time, you're going to have to hear this explanation again, but I will try to condense it because I do think people starting 67 might wonder where 66 went. I don't think that everybody's watching every review. Next time, number 67 from the Criterion collection, The Blood of a Poet by Jean Cocteau from France from 1930, the first of the Orphic trilogy, which is what number 66 is called. So that's it. I will see you there for the individual films from the Orphic trilogy, one after another. Thank you as always for watching this. I'm glad I have audio this time. And I hope maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I'm wasting your time, and if so, I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can. I'll see you next time.